All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today is a video that I wanted to do for a little bit. This was the video that actually kicked off the channel, was doing a build walk around of my 2021 Tacoma. And I thought it was appropriate, especially as we go into 2025, and since it has been a hot second since we did that walk around, to kind of just do a walk around of the truck as it sits right now. Not a lot has changed, but also quite a bit has changed. With the camper, the power setup, the diesel heater, the wheels, the suspension. So yeah, I guess quite a bit has changed since that last video. But there's always a lot of questions on the setup of the truck, what it looks like inside, inside the cab. You guys don't see that too much when I'm doing the videos. So today I just want to go through and do a walk around of the truck as it sits right now as we go into 2025. Also some other upgrades that maybe I potentially want to do or work with certain brands in 2025 on. But ultimately, the truck is really dialed right now for what I use it for. And outside of how it sits right now, really the only other things that I want to do to it are doing a swing out bumper in the rear, mainly to hold a Rotopack diesel tank for the diesel heater, and then also getting an appropriate build out in the rear, because what we have in there right now is actually not set up for the Super Pacific. Outside of that, the truck is pretty damn close. And I say that, it's pretty damn close to being finished, and it's serves me extremely well. So the first thing that I want to say about this, and that I want to be very open to you guys about, is some of these products were received obviously at a discount. Some of them were received for free, which I'll mention throughout the video. I think it's super important to just mention that, just because when I was starting to build this truck and I was looking online, I felt like a lot of people weren't really honest about that. So you see this type of setup and you start doing your research and you want to build something similar, and then you quickly get discouraged because you maybe start to figure out the cost of doing something like this. So throughout the video where I've gotten products for free or a discount, I will mention the price that they are to buy, and then also if I receive that product obviously at a discount or free from the brand as well. The other disclaimer is this setup works best for me. What works best for you is something that you're going to have to do through trial and error, get out and camp. And I just want to also mention that this was not the first setup that I went through. So first setup was just a basic bed rack and rooftop tent. Everything I needed to camp was stowed in one crate. That was it, okay? And it kind of just evolved over time of I wanted to camp more, I wanted to camp longer. The frequency of camping trips throughout the year started really low, and then they only climbed up. So as a truck sits right now, this is a multi-day type of truck. And if you're new to the channel, if you're just watching this video for the first time, in 2024, we hit 123 nights with the Super Pacific. The year prior to that, we had the GFC, we hit 77 nights. So I am very familiar with camping and also camping a lot. And again, this setup sits perfect for how I'm using it right now. A lot of people may disagree, and that's perfectly fine. That's what makes the world go around. If everyone liked the same items, the same setup, the same type of overlanding gear, life would be pretty boring, okay? And that's why companies are creating different variations of campers. You have options for trailers, you have options for sleeping in the back of your truck, you have options for sleeping on the ground. Whatever fits your needs, your heart, awesome. Just want to go over what build and how I've gotten here today. But with that being said, let's dive into the outside, the exterior of their truck. Then we'll dive into the back of the bed, kind of go over the changes that have happened since that last video. And then finally, we'll end on the interior or the cab of the truck. All right, so we have the old trusty spreadsheet here that I've put all the prices in. And I will also, at the end of the video, put a total price of where, like if you were to go out and purchase everything, roughly what the estimated cost would be, just so you guys have an idea. So first off, the truck itself is a 2021 Tacoma TRD off-road 5-foot bed. I opted for the tech package at the time of purchase. And mainly the reason why I wanted the tech package is the LED OEM headlights, which are awesome. You get that white DRL. You get some other things, the tech package inside with the touchscreen, Apple CarPlay, stuff like that. Also, the only other option that came with this was the all-weather floor mats, which in my opinion is a massive scam. But when you pick this up from the dealership, some of the things are already coming with it. You can't opt out of that. So at the time of purchase of this truck, which was December 2020, it was purchased for right around $42,000 out the door, I believe. Now, I also want to celebrate this because at the time of posting this video, the truck has one more payment and then it is completely paid off. So I've waited to pay it off just as it's a tax write-off through the business that I have. Otherwise, the truck would have been paid off a long time ago. But the base model of this cost at the time of purchase, again, December 2020, was right around $42,000 from the dealership in Bozeman. Another question that I might get is the current mileage on the truck as well. And since picking it up in December of 2020, we've put 85,000 miles on the truck. Between then and now, there has been no major issues with the vehicle itself. The only thing that I've had issues with was when I rerouted the exhaust for the skid plates underneath. The shop did not do a very good job when they rerouted that exhaust, and I was throwing some error codes on the catalytic converter. Once I got that fixed, those codes went away and everything else has been completely fine. No engine issues, no transmission issues, nothing else on the truck besides regular maintenance. Just replaced the brakes, which we'll talk about not too long ago as well. And outside of that, it's just been regular maintenance, which I've started to actually do myself. So oil changes and everything like that are done every 5,000 miles. So first we're gonna start with the wheel and tire setup. So these are the SSW Raptor wheels. They are a 17-inch -12 offset. Full disclosure, these were free. SSW was actually one of the first official sponsors of the truck. They reached out last December. If you were to go and purchase those yourself, they are $250 a piece. So for a set of 4, you're looking at about $1,000. Now I am affiliated with SSW, so if you guys are ever looking at wheels, you can always use the code GAINZ, G-A-I-N-Z, and that will save you, I believe, 10% on your purchase. Current wheels, or tires, I should say, that we are running are the Toyo Open Country AT3s. These are fantastic, and full disclosure on these, Toyota dealership in Missoula hooked me up with these free of charge. But if you were to go purchase this tire setup, which is a 285/75/17, technically a 34-inch tire, you're looking at about $960. That does not include mounting. And again, just kind of looking online, the average price for this size of tire was right around $300 to $320. So first 2 items were free, but working as a content creator, nothing is truly ever free as we're out here spending time capturing content, whether it's through YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So even though it may sound awesome that we've received a product free of charge, just know that there's always work that has to be done in order to pay back for that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just work our way down the spreadsheet in no really particular order. The rock sliders that I am running are actually one of the first few modifications that I made way back. These are the Running for Tacos RRW rock sliders, and at the time of purchase, those were $900. For the suspension, first suspension upgrade that we did was just a nitro charged Dobinson suspension, basically like a very basic intro to getting the truck lifted. The ability to fit some bigger tires in there and whatnot. Recently though, last year, we upgraded to the 3-way adjustable Dobinsons, MRRs, along with their billet upper control arms. I did get a discount from Dobinson's. They were not free, but there was a slight discount that was applied for the suspension setup in the front, and then also when I was running the rears. At the time of purchase though, that full kit, including the billet upper control arms, was right around $3,400, not including labor. Labor to install the lift was free of charge from Move up here in Kalispell. Filmed a little video walk around for them. So yes, discounted lift, free labor on that. Now we did change up the rear, and we are actually long traveled in the rear now. There was an individual up in my area that was looking to do long travel, wasn't gonna work on his truck. So we actually just did a direct swap for the Dobinson's MRA 14-inch smoothies that are in the rear, along with the Archive Garage kit. So the 14-inch MRA Dobinson smoothies are $625 a piece, so on each side. So two of them was $1,250. The Archive Garage kit was $580 if you were to purchase those outright. But since I just basically did a direct swap, which was a really good trade for what I had in the rear, there was no like additional cost really there. And then labor to get the Archive Garage kit installed was about $300 or $400 of cutting and then welding on there as well. So suspension setup in the rear, like I mentioned, we are now long travel 14-inch smoothies from Dobinson's. We are still rocking the same leaf pack in the rear, which is the Deaver Stage 3. We are rocking new bump stops front and rear. So the bump stops were free of charge from Sumo Springs. They sent out a kit for the front and then also the rear, and pretty darn good. I really have no complaints over them. I was running the Timberlands before and didn't have any issues with those. To be honest, don't see or feel any difference between the two. I probably rarely ever hit the bumps in the rear unless I'm like fully flexed and putting a lot of weight on one side. I know for a fact I have 100% maxed out the front and also the front Dobinson suspension, unintentionally hitting a whoop that I could not see in a dirt road and essentially fully stuffed the front wheels, and 100% know that I maxed out the Sumo Springs and the suspension there, but really no complaints. The suspension as it sits right now is extremely comfortable for the weight of the truck. I feel like it's tuned appropriately, and then the adjustability of the Dobinson suspension is great. I can make it softer, a little bit firmer depending on the terrain that I'm going over. And to be honest, I really don't adjust it all too much. Like once it's set, I just leave it. There's a lot more flex in the rear as well though with the 14-inch smoothies. That's been incredible. I've gotten to play around with that a little bit more. And in the process of also installing those, we had to do extended brake lines as well, since now we have more downward travel that we have to work with. Now for the brakes, we did work with PowerStop Brakes to upgrade the front brakes and then also the rear drum brakes as well. Definitely brakes were on the last bit of their life. And again, the truck has does have 85,000 miles on it. And most of the time that I've owned the truck has been with some sort of weight. So pretty darn good, I feel like, to get that many miles out of the original and stock brake pads. But if you were to upgrade the PowerStop or to a PowerStop brakes, they are $400 roughly, give or take. Checking on Amazon, it seems like the price fluctuates quite a bit, and that is for front and rear. Again, those were free of charge though through PowerStop. All right, moving to the front of the truck and starting to discuss some armor on the truck. So if you watched the first video, you would know that I was rocking a Backwoods Adventure Mods front aluminum bumper, and the same individual that traded me for the 14-inch smoothies in the rear, the long travel, we also did a trade for bumpers. So this bumper actually has quite a bit of history. This was off of the Mule Expeditions OK 4-wheel drive 24/7 canopy truck that they did the expedition across, basically through the Rubicon Trail and then also through Moab. This was on the silver Tacoma, which is pretty darn cool. So we did a direct trade for this front bumper, but if you were to buy this directly from C4, not accounting for powder coating, which I kind of just included a little bit extra price on that, you're looking at about $2,000, no lights or anything like that. Now, in terms of lighting, we have pretty much the same lights that we worked with about a year and a half ago. Not much has changed overall in terms of what we've added. This is a Steady, S-T-E-D-I. I believe they are an Aussie brand. This came with the bumper itself. We're looking at the price of this. It can vary between $300 and $400. We also have diode dynamics is basically the main source of lighting on the whole truck besides the rock lights that are on the brake lights, and then also the scene lighting up on the Super Pacific. So at the time of purchase, and again, these prices may vary now, but the SS5, which is the light bar up on top of the Sherpa rack, that is their linkable, was $1,580. These smaller S2 lights are $300 at a time of purchase. And then the SS5 rock lights that I have in the wheel wells and one in the center of the truck, a total of 6, are $405. We also upgraded to these SS3 SAE fog lights. I believe these are the Maxes. They're basically the brightest or the best type of light that you can get from Diode Dynamics. Full disclosure, got those for 50% off. I think my final cost on those was right around $275, and they're damn bright. So I have accidentally driven without headlights, just relying on these fog lights. That's how bright they are. The throw of the light is really good. It doesn't blind oncoming traffic because it has a very even cutoff pattern, but the light spreads extremely far out on the sides of the roads. And when it's snowing or it's raining, that amber color makes a huge difference. Now, in the bumper itself, we have a Warren VR10 winch that was $750 at the time of purchase. We have this Factor 55 as well, and at the time of purchase from Amazon, that was $278.15. Underneath the truck, for additional undercarriage protection, we're rocking RCI full aluminum skids, and at the time of purchase, that was $1,195.67. So everything from lighting, armor, that was all purchased at full price or through some sort of trade, minus the obviously the SS3 fog lights from Diode. Yeah, everything also was purchased full price, trade, no discounts. All right, so as we start to make our way back, this is the Sherpa Animus rack. This was specifically made to actually work with the GFC. And at the time, I just really honestly didn't feel like upgrading to the rack that works with the Super Pacific. I also wanted to keep my rock light mount here, which when you upgrade to the one that works with the Super Pacific, you actually lose these rock light mounts. So what I ended up doing was actually just cutting a slit out. It works just fine, to be honest. It looks a little funky, but I saved money there. At the time of purchase of this rack, which was specifically made again to fit with the GFC, the price was $549. Now on top of the rack, we have the Sherpa Maxtraxs mounts, and we have a total of 4 Maxtraxs as well. Roughly the price of those with the traction board mounts was about $650. Actually, all of those were purchased through Sherpa. And at the time, if you purchased the boards and the pins would come free, which was a really good deal. We also have a way to communicate with the radio now. This is a Midland, which I have the actual handheld device mounted on the Expedition Essentials inside the truck. But we do have that. That was purchased at Expo West last year for a really good price. And I believe I paid right around $175 for that. Normally they're probably around $250, give or take, depending on the growing rate. But that has been added. It's great, especially if you're out with friends and you're all using the radio. It's almost crucial, in my opinion, to stay in contact like that, and just a lot easier to communicate via a large group versus having to get out, walk around. Yeah, so it's been by far probably one of my favorite upgrades that I've done, especially in the last year. So making our way towards the back end of the truck. If you've been following the channel for a while and have been an early subscriber, then you know that I used to rock a GFC V2 prior to getting the Super Pacific. GFC was paid full price, out of pocket. All the accessories that I ever basically bought for the GFC were also full price, paid out of pocket myself. I know that GFC has given away a lot of GFCs to influencers, content creators. That was not what I got with Super Pacific, and full transparency with the Super Pacific at the time of purchase, the discount was right around 25%. Okay. So I believe I paid about $10,500 for the camper itself at the time of pickup. And I've owned this for just over exactly 1 year. I picked it up January 11th of 2024. And like I mentioned previously, in 2024 alone, we spent 123 nights, give or take, right around there, in the camper itself. So I put it through its paces. It served me extremely well. The additional cost of what a GFC now is versus this, again, there's different uses for each, but if you're camping a lot, and now that I've owned both, I definitely see the advantage of the comfort features that the Super Pacific offers over something like the GFC. But yeah, full disclosure, there was a discount on this camper just through working with a marketing and content deal. Again, guys, like as a content creator, it's awesome to get products maybe for free or a discount, but just know in the background, there's always something that has to be done in terms of work, like a deliverable, whether you're taking photos, making videos with it, whatever it is. Like, it's awesome to get stuff for free, but there's always work that comes with it. And I don't think a lot of people realize that when you get a product or whatever it is. Now, some brands, kind of a little off tangent here, some brands will give you product and then also reimburse you or pay you for deliverables, which that's kind of where I'm at now. So that's also called UGC content, user-generated content, where you're taking photos and delivering those to the brand itself. You may not see the content on my page or the creator's page, but that content will be on the brand's page. So there's a lot of different avenues you can go. But just know, if a product is free, the content creator is working for that product in some way or another, okay? So camper itself, right around $10,500. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's not for everyone. But for me, it has been fantastic. I love camping. I love getting out. The Super Pacific has served me extremely well. And it's probably the last camper that will be on the truck. I don't really foresee doing any changes to the sleeping or the camping setup. Now, awning. Last awning that we had was an Overland Pros Raptor 6K, which was a fantastic awning. Paid full price for that myself. We are now rocking the FSR Free Spirit Recreation 270 awning. This is their V2 awning. They had some issues with the rear hinge and the bracket before, but that has since been updated. And to be honest, this awning is awesome. This was free from FSR, so I got this free of charge. If you were to go purchase this yourself, though, you're looking at about $1,100, give or take. Discount code GAINS will save you 5%, I believe. And yeah, it's a great awning. I think if you're going to get an awning for overlanding or camping, you really should just look at either a 180 or a 270 now. I used to have, like way back, I used to have one of those old school like A or B awnings that you would essentially pull out, and then you'd have to set up these poles. It was just a huge pain to set up. I actually never set it up, owning it for about a year. It just was a huge pain. This awning is great. I would say the con compared to the Overland Pros, slightly less coverage. So with the Overland Pros, I actually got coverage all the way to the front. So it would cover the driver's front door there. A little bit more extended coverage out, but this FSR is a lot easier to put away. So one thing that FSR did with this awning is they also made the bag a little bit bigger, which is one of my huge gripes with a lot of these awning companies is we're never going to pack it back as good as they did, okay? You have snow, you have ice, maybe you just don't fold it as tight, and then you're trying to shove it into a bag that's already too small. FSR did make this bag a little bit easier, and even with snow and ice, it's still pretty darn easy to fold up. So that's been a huge plus. It's stood wind, snow, rain. Yeah, super pleased with it. And again, got it free of charge, but great awning and no issues with it thus far. So the back of the truck and inside the Super Pacific is something that has been evolving for quite a bit of time. Really what you see in the back here though has happened a lot since getting the Super Pacific and wanting something that I could take extended trips in, had some more comfort features that I kind of knew that I wanted after having the GFC. So a brief rundown of what is happening in the back here. We have a full Goose gear setup, including the Goose gear bed plate where everything is attached to. This Goose gear system is actually not made for the Super Pacific. This was from a Vagabond camper, which if you're in the overlanding scene, then you probably have heard of them. They are no more, but this was made for that type of camper. And from my understanding, it's actually been passed down quite a few times. I think I'm the 4th or 5th owner of this Goose gear system. Now, Goose gear is not cheap. Goose gear is a very expensive and bougie product. This is some of their older stuff, but if you were to go out and purchase something similar to this, it normally would come with a fridge slide and whole buildup on this side as well. Personally, I didn't use that, but this system itself with the base plate is right around $5,000 or $6,000, or a little bit more if you were to go out and purchase that. Now, there are a lot of options out there that you can pick and choose from, a lot of other brands. You can also DIY if you have those skills and the time. This came up for a really good price and trade. I essentially traded a all-in-one diesel heater and $500 cash, okay? Extremely lucky. It does not usually happen like that, but it worked out really well in my favor. Now for power setup, that has also evolved quite a bit over time. We were rocking a power station before, an Anchor, which I still have. That was a little over 1,000 watt hours, and now we have evolved once again into having 2 100 amp hour heated lithium batteries in the rear cubby. So fully supported in the rear now. We're not rocking a dual battery underneath the hood like we were before. Single battery underneath the hood up front, and a dual battery 200 amp hour lithium setup in the rear here. Those batteries, 100 amp hours again, we have 2 of them, are roughly around $500 or $250 a piece. So a total of $500 for those. One thing I did not touch on either is that we have solar panels up on top of the Super Pacific. Those are from Sunflare, and we have 2 of their 140 watt panels at $575 a piece. Those are in total $1,150. Those, along with the 2 Power Queen batteries, though, were free of charge from both of those brands. Okay, Power Queen batteries have held up just fine. No issues with it being super cold, no issues with discharging or recharging. The solar panels, same thing with those. They've been fantastic. No issues with them charging the batteries, getting sun. I threw up a Christmas tree up on top and the panels are still completely fine. Cover the Goose gear setup. Also to recharge the batteries from the sun and then also the engine motor. We have Victron stuff. The Victron stuff was purchased by me fully off of Amazon. No discount given on that. We have the Victron DC to DC 30 amp charger, which will charge the batteries when the truck is running. And that came in at about $210. We also have the Victron MPPT, which will take the power from the solar panels and basically convert it and charge the batteries and do all the fancy stuff like that. That is also the 30 amp one, and that was $125. Now, the reason why I stuck with Victron and also have the Victron shunt in there so I can manage and see the power usage is mainly just the fact of using the app. The app on the Victron stuff is incredible. I have it up on the iPad when I'm driving. I can see the power that's going into it. I can also see the power that's coming out of it when I'm charging electronics. I can see the state of the batteries with the Victron shunt as well. One thing I did not mention was the Victron shunt. The price of that, which was right around $175 at the time of purchase. Okay, so everything Victron was purchased by me out of pocket. We also have a Bouge RV 2000 watt inverter, which I use to run a small Keurig coffee maker, which is a little over 1,000 watts. That was free of charge from Bouge RV, and that is also installed in that back cubby. Now, to control the lights, the diesel heater, we also have Starlink, which I'll go over in a minute. We're using an Auxbeam 8-gang switch panel with Bluetooth as well, which is great because I can control that with my phone. So when I'm up in the top portion of the tent, I can either turn on or off Starlink if I really wanted to. I can turn off the lights, which is fantastic. That has been incredible to use in the back of the Super Pacific. I think it works great. So if you're ever looking for a cheaper switch panel, don't discount Auxbeam. Okay, so we're using an Auxbeam switch panel in the rear. At the time of purchase, that was $215. And then to control the rest of the lights, the exterior lights that are on the front of the truck, the Dow Dynamics, the rock lights as well, we're using a Switch Pro, which is underneath the hood, and then the panel is next to the steering wheel inside the truck, and that came in at $599 for that. Now, miscellaneous wire and fuses to hook all of this stuff up, because I did most of the wiring in the rear of the truck along with my good friend Blake. He also helped with a lot of it as well. Switching the dual battery setup underneath the hood to a single battery setup, running power to the rear of the truck and all of that stuff. Miscellaneous costs there, $175 for wire and fuses, give or take. A lot of the stuff I was able to reuse and recycle, so it could be more, it could be less, depending on what you have available. Other major costs in the rear of the truck here, we have our integrated diesel heater, which I did a full build on. I've also have a video on the portable diesel heater that I did before this. But this bracket is from Tigley Fabrications. He makes them just for Tacomas right now. But this bracket was slightly discounted. I believe I paid right around $125 for it. Great bracket, great guy. Highly recommend looking or considering this route if you have a Tacoma. For the diesel heater, we're rocking a Lavinier diesel heater. This is the Alpine. Before I was rocking the Pro. And the main difference between those two heaters is the Pro is more of like an entry-level heater. Definitely higher components than your traditional Chinese diesel heater that you get off of Amazon. And then we have the Alpine, which basically will auto adjust the fuel and also the fan speed depending on the elevation, because that is one thing that you have to pay attention to when running diesel heaters, is making sure that you're not over fueling the heater itself. Otherwise that fuel just sits in there unburned And eventually long term, it causes soot to build up inside the heater, and long term, you'll actually have to take the heater apart and clean it. Otherwise, it will stop working. Now, the other major addition that we've also done with the back of the truck is including Starlink in the setup. And I know Starlink can get a lot of love. It can also get a lot of hate because you're out there in nature and the whole idea is to disconnect, which I 100% fully agree. For me though, and I think for a lot of others, Starlink has given the ability for people that are working remote to get outside a lot more frequently, or also stay out there longer. And that's been the case with me with Starlink. I've been able to take road trips that have been extended and go to spots where I know cell service isn't available, where I can't hotspot off of a phone. Starlink has allowed me to work in some incredible places while also staying connected. And for me, it's a huge benefit and pro. Now Starlink, the dish itself was obviously purchased full price. I have the Gen 2 dish. There's been the Gen 3 and then the Starlink Mini now, and I would highly encourage you, if you are looking at getting any of those dishes, like just go straight for the Starlink Mini. It's portable, it's small, it's all in one. You can power it off of USB-C, which is fantastic. So the power consumption of the Mini is a lot less. With the Gen 2 dish that I have, I did do a 12-volt conversion from a company. They sent that out free of charge. I'll link that down below as well. With every product that I've mentioned in this video, I'll try to provide some sort of links for you guys so you can find it. 12-volt conversion was free of charge. If you were to go out and purchase that yourself, though, it is about $200. And then the dish, obviously from Starlink, whatever one you go with, is an additional cost. And then recently, roughly in like the last 6 months, Starlink did release a month-to-month plan of 50 gigabytes, which is fantastic. So instead of paying for unlimited data, which is about $150 per month, you can pay $50 per month and get 50 gigabytes of data to use while camping, which is more than enough for a majority of folks. If you're just out there and you're streaming maybe a movie or texting, you're doing some emails, whatever it is, 50 gigs is usually more than enough, unless you're in a really big camp setting and everyone wants to hop on your Wi-Fi. Then at that point, I would say, here's my Venmo, $75. Just joking. But yeah, 5 gigabytes or 50 gigabytes is more than enough for most folks. And if you go over, it's only $1 per gigabyte. So it's not bad. I think it's a great option. It's actually the plan that I'm rocking right now. I used to run unlimited all the time, but 50 gigs is more than enough for what I'm using it for. And then, so just some additional accessories that are inside the Super Pacific here. We have this Kingpin 40-inch adjustable light bar. This was free of charge, sent out by Kingpin. This thing is awesome. And this is not just specifically made for the Super Pacific. These can be applied really to any camper or camper shell that you have. This thing is super bright. You can also adjust and aim the light, which in my opinion is fantastic. Outside of that, we've got 3 of these Super Pacific bags. I purchased 2 of these with my own money. And then since owning the Super Pacific, I also have what they call is the buddy system. So if someone uses your camper code, you get $250, and then also I get $250 to use towards gear. So since owning the Super Pacific, since releasing videos, answering questions from people that have been looking at Super Pacifics and then getting them, a lot of the accessories, including the MOLLE panels, the other bag, the insulation kit on the inside, I've been able to purchase all of those just basically free of charge through Super Pacific for referring people the camper. Okay, so it's a win-win for not only me but also the person that is picking up the camper, because they're also getting $250 to use towards the gear store at Super Pacific as well. Outside of that, there's just a lot of random accessories inside the back of the camper. I'm not going to go over in depth too much just because I've used them so many times. They kind of change periodically. But a lot of just small camping stuff I've got, in the drawers here. We've got cooking supplies. spoons, pots, pans from sea to summit, random stuff, seasonings, spices. We have an aeronaut for the blanket. We also have the 2 Hess pillows as well. The aeronaut I won at a GFC giveaway. The Hess pillows were free of charge as well for doing a fitment guide on the GFC. Aeronaut is great. It's a great blanket, and then so are the Hess pillows. They pack down small and fold into each other, so they actually never get dirty, which is fantastic. Other various items that are in the rear here, we have the Dometic water jug attached to a Super Pacific Molle panel, which in my opinion is fantastic. One of the first modifications that I did to the back of the Super Pacific was that water jug setup. Various bags, pouches, not going to really go into that too much, but if you guys are ever more or interested in seeing a specific item, you can always leave a comment down below, and maybe in a future video as well, I can kind of dig a little bit deeper into that. But yeah, other camping stuff. Underneath the right side of the Goose gear here, I have I believe it's called a Cydio. I think that's what they're called. Little storage tote, and that is like my emergency food, cooking supplies. In there is dry food, so Mountain House, I have oatmeal, sun butter because I'm allergic to peanut butter. Really just emergency stuff. So just in case something did happen where we're stranded for a couple days, or maybe we're cooking dinner and we need food, stuff is in there. I always keep extra propane and gas bottles, butane, whatever it is always stored in there just in case as a backup emergency. And then we also have a warm sleeping bag from Sea to Summit that is also stored underneath there, that is always in the truck wherever I go. And then so to just give you guys kind of a closer look, need to organize that from the last trip. Cooking stuff is in that one. Some dry goods, seasoning, spices in that one. We have this little bag here, which is storage for all of my cables and whatnot. That fridge right there is the VL35 Pro S from Iceco. And then over there, like I was saying, we have extra storage. So food is underneath there. That is the Ignic propane bottle with the stove and whatnot. And then we have a close-up of the diesel heater and the port. Up on the back there, that is where Starlink is, the router is. We have a little shelf, and then we also have our coffee maker, which is there in the corner. All right, so in the back of the truck, we have Odie, who is warming up inside because it's very cold out. We have a Goose gear full seat delete in the rear, which is awesome because you gain so much additional space in the back of the Tacoma with this. At the time of purchase with the full seat delete, this was $1,300, fully paid by me, no discount or anything like that. We are also rocking this hex rack from Miso Customs. They no longer make these, but this has been just a great addition to attach some various items to the top. And again, pretty easy to install, but more attachment points in the rear. I did get this free of charge, and along with a lot of the other Miso products in here as well, such as the blackout kit, and then also the dome lights as well, which you can see I have front and rear, which you can switch and alternate between red and then pure white. So the main thing that I want to cover in the front of the truck is really this Expedition Essentials mount, which we have here. We have various RAM mounts to secure not only the phone mount, but we also have the Midland radio, which I mentioned as well. We mount that up here. And then the iPad mount, which if we look here, you can see has all of the data and information for the batteries in the back as well. Another addition that we did is this is a backup camera slash dash cam for the front and the rear. This was free of charge from this company. I'll include some footage of what it looks like when we're driving as well, so you can kind of see the difference. I was rocking no rear mirror for a while because the Super Pacific in the rear or the back does not have a window, since I opted for that. So this has been fantastic to have the ability to see out of the rear, just like a Wolf box camera as well. This is a very similar brand, but this has been, in my opinion, a fantastic addition to have. We still have the Garmin dash cam that is also on that side as well. So the Expedition Essentials mount at the time of purchase was $230, purchased fully by myself. We have this iPad over here. This is an iPad mini with GPS, which I purchased refurbed from Amazon at the time, and that was about $375. Various RAM mounts for the iPad, whatever. I'm going to just say about $100 for those. Mirror dash cam was free of charge from the company, but if you were purchasing this yourself, you're looking right around, give or take, $150 to $175. The Garmin dash cam that is on the other side of that was purchased fully by me, and at the time of purchase that was $200 as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that walk around of the truck and kind of just a small update on where it sits as we go into 2025. Again, full transparency on this is a lot of this stuff was either free or discounted, and then a lot of it I also paid full price out of pocket as well. I just think it's not something that a lot of content creators actually talk about, is the true cost of doing something like this. So if we do take a look at the spreadsheet and, you know, just doing a rough estimate of how much all of this stuff would cost at the end of the day, you know, adding some additional miscellaneous cost for camping gear, other various items that are on the truck that you really maybe can't see. For example, like the truck has been tuned. It has an OTT tune, and that was an additional $400. That's not something you can visibly see on the truck. And then also some other various small things that have been done underneath the hood, or lights that have been added that you can't see unless I really get into the nitty and gritty. So at the end of the day, I also paid labor to get the truck originally wired, which I think was a huge waste from Blaze Off-Road. Just the communication between myself and Mitchell at the time was extremely poor. I also felt like the price that I paid for the work that I got done was not appropriate. Okay. So a lot of that work that was already done, and he wired the truck for the previous setup, that's pretty much all been ripped out. So overall though, as the truck sits right now, doing just a rough estimate on the cost of everything and how it's kind of evolved over the few years or the 4 years of ownership, we're looking a little over $40,000 to get the truck to where it sits right now. Give or take, it could be a little bit less, it could be a lot less, it could be more. Just keeping a running track on a Google spreadsheet though, we're right around 45,000. So 40 to 45,000 plus the additional cost of the truck at the time of purchase, which was right around 42,000. Overall, we're into this truck about $80,000. Now, a lot of you, again, it's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not. It is a ton of money. But I really enjoy camping. I really enjoy getting outside. I love doing this. And I don't want to make this video sound like you need this type of vehicle to do that either. Again, when I started overlanding, when I started camping and doing all of this, I started very basic, and it just kind of evolved from there and got bigger than I was ever expecting. And here we are with this type of truck and this type of setup. But just know that if you want to go out and you want to camp and explore, you don't need all of this. This is just what I have built for me, okay? At the end of the day, get out there, camp, explore, and you'll figure out what you need. You'll figure out what you don't need. I need to go back through this setup, especially in the back of the truck where I have all the cooking and the camping stuff. There's stuff that I don't need. I know I need to go back through and I need to organize and go through that. But that's not something that I can tell you specifically. That's something that you are going to have to figure out yourself, all right? So yes, it is a lot of money. People always ask me, is it worth it? And I spin that question around to them and say, is it worth it will depend on you and the person specifically, okay? To me, this has been 100% worth it. This truck, camping, everything brings me a lot of joy. There's other things in life that people will spend a lot of money on, and to them, that's worth it. To me, it's not worth it, all right? So before you go and discount someone's build or what they've done to a truck, to a trailer, to a van, it fits what they want to do, all right? So I encourage you to do the same, is go out there and build something that fits your needs and use it, all right? With that being said, guys, if there was something that I did not cover in this video, drop a comment down below. I'll answer it. Bear with me though, it has been really chilly, so we kind of had to do this video a little bit differently than the first one. When I filmed the first walk around video, it was July, so it was a little bit warmer. It is a brisk 10 degrees Fahrenheit out here today with a slight breeze, so it is a wee bit chilly. But again, if there was something that was not covered in this video, just drop a comment. More than happy to discuss it in detail a little bit more, but super excited to go into 2025 with this build, potentially working with a few other brands to kind of bring the truck up to where I want to see it. Again, just doing a rear bumper with a swing out, and then also kind of redoing the Goose gear setup in the rear are the kind of initial plans overall. But thank you so much for the support, guys. Leave a comment, leave a like, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel for more camping content coming in the near future. Till then, see y'all.